Welcome, Amakhosi Network. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to jump into the Kaizer Chiefs news. What Khune said, some very, very disappointing comments. And no. This guy should have just taken the Kaizer Chiefs job and retired, because what he's doing now is very, very disappointing. I won't lie. Disappointing. But then another topic is that people want to see Fiston Mayele at Kaizer Chiefs after watching the Pirates performance, which is funny because people have been telling Chiefs supporters about Fiston Mayele from young African days, but no, people just want to sign a player when that player plays Pirates or Sundowns, which I never get. Why can you guys not acknowledge this guy is good, but you want to acknowledge he's good when he now plays against your favorite teams? But anyway, before we get into that, please like, comment, and subscribe. I want to jump into this this comment that Itu gave, and when I saw it, I was very disappointed because Itu, there's a time and place where you there's a certain person should be the last person to have these comments. But let me tell you what Itu said. Itu said he was talking about the Kaizer Chiefs goalkeeper. He said they are not consistent at all. Goalkeepers have been coming in, playing 2 or 3 games and 7 goals conceded. That's not Kaizer Chiefs standard, unfortunately. So this is where I want to go, guys. If you were part of the problem and you did the exact same thing, why can you now come in and bash your former goalkeeping partners like this? Why would you go out and bash your former partners in crime? For me, as someone who was the captain of Kaizer Chiefs, as someone who was basically the one who led the badge of Kaizer Chiefs, the face of Kaizer Chiefs at some point, as someone who was the Bafana captain, even at some point the Bafana face of Bafana, why would you go out and make these comments? Because why I'm saying this is because you can go out and make a comment like the Kaizer Chiefs keepers are struggling, they are inconsistent, and I think they need more support or whatever. That is a good comment for a keeper who was part of the system. But if you say it's not a Kaizer Chiefs standard and all of those things, you acting as if if you were there, you would have done it better. And that's my problem. Sometimes there's people who make comments who shouldn't be making these comments, because you can't go out and sound like you're bashing your former teammates when you were there, you were doing the exact same thing as those former teammates, especially in the last few years. Because a lot of the people like making this mistake about Itu. They like comparing Itu of prime Itu versus the Itu we were watching in the past few years. The Itu we were watching in the past few years was not good. He was inconsistent. He was making silly mistakes. He was conceding silly goals. That was the Itu we were watching the past few years. But people have this idea that the Itu we watched in the past few years can still be the Itu of Kaizer Chiefs, the prime Kaizer Chiefs. And that, for me, unfortunately, is a bad way of going about things. Because in order for you to have a long career, because he tends to come out and say he wants to have a career as long as like Gigi Buffon and Dennis Onyango, etc. But there's a very important, and like Emmanuel Neuer, all these keepers. But there's one important fact that he tends to miss every time. The standard of living that these keepers had off the field is different than the standard of living that he had off the field. These guys were dedicated to football, a healthy lifestyle, etc. Itu struggled with weight. He struggled with weight. Some people even, there's rumors, which is alleged rumors, that he even struggled with the drinking and stuff like that. We all saw the videos when he was in the, restaurant or wherever, where he made comments and he was intoxicated. I'm not saying he used to drink. I'm saying it's allegedly that he used to drinking was also a problem. But what I'm trying to get at is that with that kind of life, you can't have a long and fulfilling life. I mean, in football, as a career, whether you're going to be a keeper, etc., We have all seen that there are players like Cristiano Ronaldo, etc., who take care of their bodies and they're able to still perform at a certain level at an older age. But anyway, Asikolab. Let's jump onto the Fiston Mayele topic. Hey, one of the Fiston Mayele topic is a very difficult topic to have because now Kaizer Chiefs fans say, yeah, it's full of Fiston Mayele, it's full of Simbani against the Pirates, and they basically going out there saying they want the player, Chiefs must break their bank, etc. But Mazola, at the beginning of the season, or was it halfway through the season, I forgot, but Mazola did come. And he did present the Fiston Mayele case. And he presented why, even though he's a high target for Kaizer Chiefs, it is insanely difficult to sign this player. If Kaizer Chiefs has been failing to sign players like Apolis, has been failing to sign players like Jaden Adams, has been failing to sign players like Kanyisa Mayo, has been failing to sign players like Teboho Mokoena, Sipho Mbule, all of these players. If Kaizer Chiefs has been failing to sign these players that have been the best and Chiefs have let go to go for their rival teams, trying to go find sign Fiston Mayele is even worse than those players. Some will even say 10 times worse because the guy plays for Pyramids. He earns in dollars. Pyramids is a wealthy team. He earns in dollars. He has a very steep salary. Someone even said if Fiston Mayele is to come to Kaizer Chiefs, his Kaizer Chiefs contract is going to be almost 800K a month because of what he's earning already at Pyramids. And on top of that, when he comes to South Africa, he can't come as a free agent because he's contracted to Pyramids. So if he has to come to Kaizer Chiefs, Chiefs will have to pay the money. And the money that people are thinking that Pyramids is willing to accept from Kaizer Chiefs is nothing less than 40 million. And 40 million is even cheap looking at how he's been performing in Champions League. It may go higher, but I'm still thinking maybe kept to 40 because he is in his 30s. So when you're signing him knowing the fact that he won't have a lot of years and his career will have a downward trajectory. Like people think he's gonna lose form more than gain form in his 30s. Some people will argue differently because people have seen how Lewandowski's career actually started taking off the older he got compared to when he was younger. There's an argument there. But yeah, on my hand, I'm like, you know what? Fiston Mayele is one of those players I don't even want to talk about because at this point, if this guy is gonna cost 40 million, I don't know if it's worth it's a conversation worth having because I don't want to find myself with a team that has bought one player for the whole of next season and they want to expect that one player to perform miracles. And that's the difficulty about supporting our team is that is what's going to be on his shoulders. If they have to cough out 40 million, Chiefs is going to close the checkbook and say we can't make any more signs because 40 million already, we've exceeded our budget. Then we're going to sign one player. And if that player gets injured, your 40 million gone. So some of us sometimes think, okay, if you have 40 million, can you not make a plan with that 40 million to sign better players, younger players who can carry you for 5 years at least, etc. But some other fans are going to argue the fact that rather pay 40 million for someone who you know can deliver the goods. And others will say, yeah, but if that 40 million who can deliver the goods gets injured, like our Billiard and our Sirin, then you continue the season with the same players, our Mad, etc. But if you buy 4 to 5 players with this 40 million who are better than, let's say, Thabo Qele, and you find a way of sourcing them for wherever you get from them, etc., and you maybe pay 10 million for one, you pay another 10 million and whatever, then maybe it will look better. Maybe your squad will be more balanced, and maybe in that 4 or 5 players, you can add 2 strikers who are not actually bad strikers. But then another argument, I know I'm making a lot of arguments, is that a lot of people don't think you're going to find top quality strikers for less than 15 million or less than 20 million. So, yeah, it's a tough one. So, Kaizer Chiefs management has a lot of work to do. But other than that, my last point is this, that Kaizer Chiefs fans, have become very interesting. I've been realizing I've even been wanting to go into like Twitter spaces and chat about the Kaizer Chiefs, but I have chosen not to do it in the past few days or weeks because I've been feeling like there's a narrative that there's factions. Let me say there's factions. It's like you cannot go into a Kaizer Chiefs space and just talk about Chiefs as someone who analyzes the game. You can't go and analyze. So if you analyze Nabi and you have more bad things to say than good things, people say you're a hater, even though the bad things versus the good things are facts. Like in our performance against Cheaper, we have more bad things to say than good things. But there are supporters, if you only highlight, if you basically highlight the game as is, meaning that there's more bad things that we saw than good things, they are going to deem you a hater. When you criticize, and it's interesting because when they criticize the coach, they will come to a point where they say, okay, I can criticize the coach, but you can't criticize the coach. If you criticize the coach, you are a Nabi hater. And I'm like, I don't understand in what world we live in where we can talk about football like this. If we are doing more bad than good, I can't go there and put lipstick on a pig. We have to highlight our reality in that there are bad things and then there are good things. The good things are very few. The bad things, there's a lot. So the bad things is our management, we already know. The bad things is our coaching, we already know. The bad things is our players, we already know. Can these things be fixed? Yes, they can be fixed. Nabi must stop trying to win every game in his brain. He must be practical about the opponents he's facing, how the opponents will play, and the players he has at his disposal. Nabi right now looks like someone who is willing to lose games to prove to Kaizer Chiefs management that the players that they've given him are not good enough. And for me, it scares me that we have a coach who can keep us so close to the relegation fight just to prove a point that the players that are in Kaizer Chiefs squad are not good enough for Kaizer Chiefs. It scares me because in that moment, I realized that someone is choosing their job over the club. And a lot of you will criticize me for saying this point, but I don't like a coach who can put his job, the security of his job, over the surviving or the status of the club. And a lot of you will be like, how is Nabi doing that? Because Nabi is not playing players to their strength. He's forcing players to play his system. And that is the difficulty, in that you need to make adjustments with what you have. If you don't make adjustments with what you have, you're going to find yourself struggling in games. A typical example of this is Miguel Cardoso of Sundowns. He is going out there and forcing Sundowns to play a game that does not suit the players on the field. His Sundowns is looking more like a North African team than a South African team, because under Rulani and Pito, there used to be emphasis on movement and possession. And the movement was a quality that took out the best out of South African players. I think a lot of you saw the difference of what happens when you have a Themba Zwane in that team. Themba Zwane is just, unfortunately for Miguel Cardoso, the way Themba Zwane plays is movement. That's the best. That's how he can get the best out of himself. He has to move around. But he's been coaching the other players to play this system, and a lot of them are starting to do things that are fitting Miguel's system, but they are going out of what made them great, and that was the movement of the ball. Because if you watch this game against Al Ahly, Sundowns just didn't have movement. And it wasn't that Al Ahly is good. No. Don't get that twisted. It wasn't that Al Ahly was amazing, Al Ahly was good. No, it's just the fact that Sundowns could not find each other. And that is already a scary thought. Because that was never a problem last season. Last season and the seasons of Pito, players finding each other, it wasn't a problem. The only problem when they came up to the semi-finals was being ignorant of the level of play. Meaning ignorant is that You cannot play the same way because these guys are going to plan for you. What you have to do is, yes, still play your kind of football, but also add a little bit of tactics and adjustments to counter certain situations. And that is what Sundowns failed to do in the past few years. Another thing Sundowns has failed to do in the past few years, unfortunately, they are sitting in the same place as Kaizer Chiefs. The only difference between Kaizer Chiefs and Sundowns is that Sundowns at least has top quality players around the field. So they kind of solve this problem with the players around. But when you get to bigger competitions, this position is very important. And that's the striker position. You need a striker who can consistently put the ball in the back of the net, regardless of the situation, regardless of the climate. Similar to Fiston Mayele, he buried chances. Yes, they were offside, but he put them in the net. That's what you need. And we saw with Peter Shalili against Al Ahly, they were taking shots that didn't threaten Al Ahly. So Al Ahly is willing to take on Peter Shalili because they don't find these guys as threats. But anyway, enough about other teams. I just wanted to use that as an example, just for people to understand when I'm comparing two coaches, comparing systems, etc. But that's what I wanted to say about Nabi. You guys let me know what you think.